July 24th, 2012, 6:16 p.m., 1816. The following is an excerpt from the diary of Professor Francisco Richard Poplar. Having graduated from 5 colleges, under the influence of neglecting parents, I have managed to become this region's professor. My goal is not to study all Pokemon, but to run some experiments. I hope that the outcome will result in Pokemon and humanity truly thinking alike. My first test is having our DNA injected into a few subjects. By the time I find starter Pokemon, they will be my first subjects. A Mew, one of the rarest Pokemon in this region, slowly woke up, having no clue where she was or what happened during the time. She came out of a large box, emitting some odorless, gaseous substance. The Mew had been in hypersleep. It was cryogenically frozen. The creature couldn't tell where she was once she freed herself from the refrigerator, nor could she recall the sounds before waking up. Turning her head in multiple directions, she finally noticed a speck of light above, illuminating from the stairwell. The Mew flew out from the void, finding a team of construction equipment and vehicles surrounding a decaying building. Nothing familiar sparked in her head. The poor Mew did not know where to go. She wandered away from the construction site and into a forest. The lost Pokemon did not have a clue where she was heading, why she was going a specific direction, but she continued going further into the woods. But despite waking up during the night, the Mew was tired and eventually took a nap. July 25th, 2012, 9:09 p.m., 21:09. I have injected a human's DNA into all 3 starters. I ran a few tests on them and they managed to think close to a human. They know where certain materials are, can read an instruction, and do it perfectly. I hope that the DNA sampler won't drown in the gene pool years to come. These Pokemon could change the world.
Hunter, my feet hurt.
You're too heavy to lift, Chase.
But they really hurt.
The fat Charmander collapsed on the ground whining.
Can we stop, please?
Chase, we gotta keep moving, Hunter said. For all we know, Dad's probably following us.
I don't think Dad can even follow a boat for so long.
Chase groaned.
We've been walking almost every day.
Hunter sighed. There's gotta be a faster way to roam around this region. Suddenly, Hunter and Chase heard bells ringing from a distance. Hunter snuck out and saw a rural train station. He ran back to grab Chase, but upon leaving the bushes, a Delphox and an Arcanine encountered them. You there, shouted the Delphox. What are you guys doing? We were just... Hunter tried to say. I know what they're doing, said the Arcanine. They're gonna ride the rails, too. Is that right? Yes, exactly, Hunter shouted. Perfect, follow us, the Arcanine said with a smile.
Hunter, who are they?
Asked Chase. Don't worry, Chase. They're gonna help us, Hunter replied. The quartet of fire types climbed on the top of the train cars as the steam whistle blew. The engine slowly chugged as the train moved away from the station. So, where are you boys heading? Asked the Arcanine. Hopefully somewhere safe, Hunter said. Oh, that's gonna be hard, the Delphox said. Luxury for the fire types is scarce here. What? They can't enter society due to the fire team, the Arcanine explained. They are their only hope, as of now. Does the fire team take care of the fire types? Hunter asked with concern. For the most part, yes, the Delphox said. But there's also labor. Labor? Yeah. The trainers are at war with the fire team, the Arcanine growled. Hunter tried changing the topic. So, how far does this train go? He asked. We don't know, the Arcanine said. But we know where the fire team's base is. Unfortunately, it's a lot of walking, with or without the rails, the Delphox added. You're welcome to join us. Hunter was hesitant. Even if he joined the fire team, he and Chase would not get the freedom they longed. It seemed the only option was to keep riding the rails until they found a trainer who could adopt them both. I appreciate your offer, sir, Hunter finally said, but I'd rather not. I expected a Torchic or a Litten to say something like that, the Arcanine sneered. If you ever change your mind, here's a map. The Arcanine gave the Charmeleon a map of the region. When Chase looked at the map, he suddenly got dizzy, and so did Hunter. Our destination's coming up soon, the Delphox said. I wish you guys the best of luck. Well, boys, have fun. Don't try to backstab your allies, the Arcanine said, before he and the Delphox jumped.
What does that mean, Hunter?
I don't know, he said.
Are we gonna go to war?
You're too young, Chase, but I'd rather fight against our own type. July 27th, 2012, 6:14 a.m., 6:14. 3 kids came in and chose the starters. They are unaware that their Pokemon behaves like their friends, fellow neighbors, and every human being on Earth. Instead of having the principles of Charles Darwin's natural selection theory as system I study, I would rather have one fellow catch all Pokemon in the region, so that each one can have a human being's DNA. The Mew woke up, but realized she got lost in the forest. Afraid, she wandered around and tried calling for help, but there was no answer. Suddenly, she heard leaves rustling. The Mew did not know how to fight back when under attack. She was defenseless. All she could do was wait to see who the foe was. From the bushes, there came a small boy with a Pokeball. He immediately threw it at the Mew. 10 minutes later, the boy set the Mew free in a cave. She met various other Pokemon, but was too nervous to talk to them. As a few more were abundant in size compared to her, she was a bit timid. "Wow, you're a rare find, little one," the boy said. "You'll be okay here, don't worry. You guys be nice to the new one." The boy was a chubby, light-skinned child who dressed in a worn-out baseball cap with a dirty maroon shirt full of holes and tears. His beige shorts were falling, covered in filth as well. He wore red sneakers, but there weren't any socks visible. One could imagine the blisters on his toes and the cuts near his Achilles. "I am Marcus Dustin," the boy said to the Mew. "I'm gonna try to keep you guys hidden as best as I can. Are you a wild Pokemon?" Her eyes focused on Marcus. "You don't know what I'm saying, do you?" he giggled. "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe until the end of the war." There was a war going on? The Mew had no idea. She must have spent years frozen in the basement, but she still feels young. She still needs to find a way to get back to where she once lived and try to understand her history. So far, the Mew was spending her life in a cave full of strangers. She needed a story of what happened while she was frozen and why she was in the first place. July 28th, 2012, 5:11 p.m., 17:11. Reports came in about the Pokemon's behavior. No one has seen this anthropomorphic change in the species. I'm glad they aren't aware how that's happened. For now, I'll look into this change and say, for the most part, it may have something to do with the companionship between Pokemon and their trainer. Do you boys know where we're going? No, sir. Well, Tim, you might have heard of the civil war against the fire and water types. We're going to the fire team's headquarters. Why? The leader has an offer. It's not to join the war, thankfully. Oh, well, that's a relief. Thank God we don't have to say goodbye to Kim or anything like that. Speaking of which, I'll do all the talking so that Kim can learn the language. The truck arrived in front of an old towering building. There was not a parking lot in sight, nor was there any road left over. Just grass everywhere. From the building's front door was a woman who opened the door and walked towards the track. "Are you boys part of the electronic warehouse?" he said. "Yes, ma'am," said Tim. "Perfect. I'll take you to see Mr. Alphonse." The employees followed their boss on their way to meet the fire team's leader. They tried their best to ignore the cells that were slowly getting filled with random Pokemon. It did not help that these two men had a Pangoro with them. After a long elevator ride and a slightly sorrowful walk down a hall of prisoners, they arrived at Alphonse's office. "Afternoon, Gabe," said the boss. "Ah, Rick," Gabe responded. "How have you been?" "I've been okay," Rick responded. "Our warehouse has been making more than enough electronics. We've mostly made cameras." "That's good to know, because I have one request from you." "And what's that?" "We want security cameras." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, some inmates are escaping." "You mean the Pokemon?" asked Tim. "Yeah, them," Gabe responded. "Why do you have them locked up?" "I wouldn't ask that if I were you." Gabe looked at the Pangoro. "Although, I could answer to this big guy." "Gabe, don't," said Rick. "I'm sorry, but I can't give you security cameras." "Why not?" asked Gabe. "Can we speak privately?" "No. Say it in front of me and your employees." "Fine. You're gonna get yourself arrested." "No, I won't. I'm miles away from them." "Even then, the cops can't stop our Pokemon. They're not even yours, Gabe." "Come on, Rick. You and I have one thing in common. Americanizing this region. Doesn't that include exterminating the Pokemon that has Francisco Poplar's genes?" "Yes. And you told me that Pangoro is trying to speak English. I think he should spend some time with me. He belongs to Timothy. Install those cameras, Rick." "Why, so you can fail to pay me back like you've always had?" "I gave you everything I had. It's not enough. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going back to working at a real job." "Park, Sanders, let's go back." When Rick reached for the door, Gabe shot him in the back. The force of his double-barrel shotgun pushed Rick against the door. He collapsed, bleeding on the ground. Tim, frightened, raised both of his hands. You two seem reasonable, Gabe said, pointing his gun at him. Maybe you can work with me. We can, sir, Tim whimpered. Like hell you can. We seriously can. Rick hasn't mentioned that we have a team of technicians willing to help you. Positive? Can confirm, sir. They are fast workers. Okay, you're intriguing me. If you want, we'll call them over right now. No, wait a day. Or make it 2 days. We got a mess to clean up. Before you go, I want this Pangoro. Mr. Alphonse, he is a part of our company, and he's not even a fire type. Tim stammered. But can he speak English fluently? No. All he could say is Pangoro. Gabe sighed. I guess you can keep him. Run along, you two. Baker, we're done here. Tim weakly grabbed the keys from Rick's blood-stained pocket and walked out of the office. When Baker guided them outside, she urged them not to return. Tim and the Pangoro walked back to the car, but they didn't drive off yet. I'm really sorry you had to see that, Kim, Tim said. That was horrifying, the Pangoro whined. I gotta say, he kinda had it coming. He wasn't even nice to you. Kim nodded. So, will we install those cameras? Yes, but I have a plan, Tim continued. After that, I will enlist and fight on the professor's side and tell him about the cameras. Hopefully, that'll help him win the war. I'll go with you, Tim, said Kim. Are you sure? Yes. Come on, let's go before they find out I can speak. July 29th, 2012, 10:25 p.m., 22:25. Earlier today, I watched a battle between a regular Pokemon and a Pokemon with the human DNA. The latter seemed to learn moves faster than normal, and did not forget any other. However, I fear there will be complaints about Pokemon attacking without trainer's commands or taking turns. What do I tell them? During the months she had been living in an old cave with very little food and water, the Mew wasn't having a favorable time. But if she hadn't found Marcus before, she would still be lost. The Mew hoped, by the end of this war, she would take the time to know what happened, as she was confused at the sudden turn of events. Hello? Shouted an echoing voice behind her. Is anybody down there? Who's there? Marcus screamed back. My name is Finn Kano, the echoing voice shouted back. I need your help. Marcus ran down to the trudging kid. What happened to you? He asked. I came from a prison, Finn said while crying. They killed my Pokemon. They were trying to kill me, working in hard factories. Finn Kano's hands were swollen and almost bloody from all the digging. He scratched the walls and eventually tore off multiple pieces of the building. He worked in the underground factory, unsupervised, and left by digging a hole in the bathroom. Finn could have escaped from the battlefront exit, but feared he would trigger an alarm or alert security. The sun was starting to rise the moment he arrived at Marcus's cave. Tell me more, Marcus said, holding on to the crying kid. I couldn't take it anymore. I want to go home. Finn bawled, but Marcus slapped him to make him stop. Kid, listen, he shouted, holding on to his dirty prisoner suit. It's too dangerous to go out there. The fire team and Team Rocket are working together. They're practically everywhere. What are we going to do? Finn asked. I'll tell you what we're going to do, Marcus said. We are going to stay here until we hear that the war has come to an end. How do you know when the war will end? Fanfare, fireworks, water team soldiers marching with the professor. You could hear the celebration from this cave. The effects of living in a cave to capture Pokemon slowly took over Marcus's mental state. Marcus's prediction of the Civil War's ending was uncanny, but the Pokemon hoped to hear the celebration less than a week from now. He had not been in a cave for more than a month, and had no plans to go back home. His parents were searching for him, but Marcus avoided the authorities finding him. He loved Pokemon, and didn't want them all to fall into the hands of the fire team. Now, tell me about the prison camp. August 5th, 2012, 7:09 p.m., 1909. Oddly enough, there aren't any other discoveries the trainers made after the events. Waiting for a trainer to catch them all is a time-consuming process. Instead of waiting, I'll handle the procedure myself, by going outside on my own, injecting the remaining human DNA with many wild Pokemon as possible. The fire team sent out some of their soldiers to other isolated lands of the region to fight the grass team. Prisoners and Pokemon aid the soldiers, yet they do not know the concept of war. They cannot even strategize. Upon seeing the tanks, the fire team tried to attack with everything they had, but to no avail. The tanks fired upon the fire team's front lines. The deafening explosions of the massive mobile guns disoriented all of the soldiers. The soldiers fled the battlefield, though a weakened Dedenne tried to wave a white flag until debris from an explosion struck the back of his head. The tank stopped, and out came a Rillaboom. The grass-type gorilla saw the little Dedenne crying from bleeding out of the back of his head. "Hey, little one," he yelled. "What happened to you?" The Dedenne looked up and stopped crying. "Can you understand me?" the Rillaboom asked again. The Dedenne didn't respond again. "Hang on, little one. I'll take you to our nurse." The tank turned back while the Rillaboom comforted the injured Dedenne. He was still breathing, but there was a hole on the top of his head. The Rillaboom did his best to bandage the wound until the tank stopped in front of the grass team's base. At last, the tank returned, and the Rillaboom ran out with the Dedenne, but the general stopped him. "Desmond, what are you doing?" he asked. "General, I know you said to stay in the front lines, but I couldn't bring myself to kill this little guy." He showed the general the bleeding Dedenne. "Wow. Bring him to Nurse Annabelle immediately." "Yes, sir." Desmond ran over to Nurse Annabelle's office to show her the injured Dedenne. "Nurse Annabelle, I found a Dedenne on the battlefield, all wounded," he shouted. "From the fire team?" she asked. "Is General Alcatraz okay with that?" "I suppose so." "All right, let me do my thing," she said. Nurse Annabelle unwrapped the bandage and looked at the wound. She looked at the injury through an X-ray and saw that something shot out a chunk of the Dedenne's brain lobes. She quickly gave the Dedenne a bottle of milk to see if it made a difference. Once the Dedenne drank the milk, Annabelle watched the wounds heal. However, pieces of the brain have not recovered completely. After a series of rehabilitative tests, the Dedenne lost his ability to smell and to talk. When asked if he knew what happened, Dedenne did not respond. He had suffered damage to his temporal lobe. His name was on his shirt, Phil Cage. August 8th, 2012, 11:19 p.m., 23:19. Still a lack of notices of the anthropomorphic Pokemon. My guess is that it doesn't have a major effect like the starters. There's also a chance that the effects of the injection are slow. Whatever it is, things are slowly going my way. In an isolated field stands an ominous tower. Inside are over 100 kidnapped trainers and Pokemon. Trainers have to do hard labor while their pocket monsters go through harsh training or work with them. The fire types, pure, primary, or secondary, trained for almost an entire day, while the remaining types worked with ammunition with very little knowledge. No one could complain or beg to go home until the war was over. Inside the massive prison, a small amount of fire-type Pokemon was not under much abusive training, but instead ranked up to the hierarchy's level, where they worked with the leader of the fire team. Among those was an Arcanine. "So, do you fully understand the lessons?" he asked his son. "Yes, I do, Dad," he replied jadedly. "Recite what I said. Wake up at 6 a.m., no sooner, no later. Blow the whistles in every cell hallway. Start from the top and walk all the way down to the factory and gym." "Excellent job, Toby. That's my boy." Toby smirked at his impressed father's compliment, but he felt sick to his stomach at the situation. He has walked past several crying prisoners and wished that he could at least talk to them. Everyone wanted to go home, and Toby wanted a better life than this. "Now, son, head on down to the cells and wake up everyone. I will be with the general." The Arcanine walked off. "Yes, sir." The Growlithe entered every room and blew the whistle, startling every prisoner. He apologetically guided everyone out of their cells and led them downstairs in a single-file line. On their way to the hallway before the basement, Toby encountered an empty room. "Hello? Finn? Fincano?" He searched the room, and it was empty. You guys head on to the basement. I'll be right back." Toby ran upstairs to find his father. Right as soon as his father left the general's office, Toby stopped and barked for his attention. "Toby? What's the matter?" "Fincano's gone," he yelled. "What do I do?" "Go downstairs. I'll let the general and lieutenants know." August 11th, 2012, 1:20 a.m., 01:20. My study may be changing me psychologically. Some nights I am staying up almost until 4 a.m. I never keep track of what I do, but I am not thinking of self-harm or existentialism, nor am I thinking of any more studies. I'm in my 40s. I shouldn't really experience a midlife crisis at this point. Hunter and Chase finally chose a place to jump to, a road leading downtown.
Where are we, Hunter?
Chase asked. I don't know, but I love the looks of it, Hunter said. Beats living in a forest, huh?
I guess.
Plus, it's not that crowded. Let's see what these buildings are. Hunter and Chase entered a bakery. The building did not prohibit fire types and was empty. Even though there were no customers or employees working, there were pastries, cupcakes, polka puffs, and other sweets for the brothers to enjoy. What are the odds of an empty town having paradise? Hunter shouted as he opened the glass cases full of treats.
Yummy, yummy, in my tummy.
Chase yelled. Hunter and Chase ate all of the sweets they could until they felt full. Almost 20 minutes later, Hunter and Chase were on the floor, rubbing their bellies. Wow, Chase, you sure are fat, Hunter chuckled.
You're mean.
Chase yelled back, laughing. Well, are you satisfied with your snacks?
So very good.
Chase sighed. Alright, what else does this town have? Hunter and Chase walked around the town to find anything new. They encountered a library, and they walked in.
Ooh. Hunter, what's that?
Chase asked. Oh, it's a comic book, Hunter replied. You want to read it?
Yeah.
Alright, let's practice reading, Chase. Chase's reading level was above average for someone his age. However, he admired comic books more than books Hunter enjoyed. Hunter has a thing for history and fantasy, but unlike Chase, he does not enjoy graphic novels. Hunter would always remark on the storyline or the character design or anything that he would joke about. But Chase would shush him so that they could keep reading the story. Chase and Hunter always take turns reading the pages, and Hunter would tell him in simple terms what the writing means. To be continued, Hunter shouted.
That means there's another story coming up.
Chase said. Exactly, Hunter said with awe. You're so smart, Chase. Up high. Chase swung his pudgy arm at Hunter's claw, but Hunter moved it away, yelling, Too slow, and laughed. Okay, let's keep going, Hunter said, walking to the exit. Chase didn't move. Chase? What's wrong?
Hunter,
Chase groaned.
I gotta go.
Hunter laughed until he saw Chase hopping, with a displeased look on his face. His laughter trailed off as he looked outside, seeing no forest in sight. There aren't any forests, Hunter groaned. August 21st, 2012, 8:08 p.m., 20:08. No one has focused on the wild Pokemon's behavior in the last few weeks. For the most part, I'm assuming that everybody thinks that these trainers have a healthy relationship with one another. I've been waiting to inject a legendary Pokemon. Then again, Pokemon have different forms of DNA, thereby having random biological instincts. Say if I injected a Pokemon known for being hostile, and they would have an extra dose of intense anger of a human being with some sort of mental disorder. So, why do you keep all these Pokemon here? Asked Finn. Why don't you go home? I'm afraid to go anywhere, Marcus said. I lost a friend who tried to catch 'em all. What happened? The fire team leader killed him. That's what started this war. Now I think the rest of the fire team are out there, trying to kill us. Look, I don't want to keep talking about this. I'm tired. Besides, I think one of these Pokemon can tell what I'm saying. The Mew listened to the story and tried to connect it to the recent events, leading to the current situation. She still didn't get a coherent account out of it. Well, good night, and thanks for letting me stay here, Finn said, slowly falling into a deep sleep. 30 minutes past 6 a.m., Marcus, Finn, and the monsters were still asleep. Unbeknownst to them, their hideout won't last long. Back in the prison camp, one of the lieutenant generals found the tunnel Finn had made to escape. After a tight, grueling crawl, he made it out and discovered a massive group of Pokemon. Armed only with a revolver, he looked at his target and pulled the trigger. The sound of gunfire woke up all Pokemon, and they evacuated, except for the Mew. Marcus woke up and ran towards the gunman, holding on to his leg. Get off of me, you! He shouted, then fired at the boy. Marcus's clutch slowly diminished as he fell off the gunman's leg. He used the remaining bullets on the little boy, and did not have enough for the Mew. "Well, hello there," he said, grabbing her by the tail. "You're coming with me. Trust me, you'll love this new home." The gunman dropped his revolver and crawled back to the prison camp. "Wait till Al sees you." August 25th, 2012, 9:09 a.m., 09:09. Everyone is asking me about the Pokemon's behavior now. They are demanding answers, despite nothing drastic happening now. Some are fearing that it could lead to a conflict against humanity. But like I said, nothing bad happened yet. I'll just tell them all to calm down. I'm not so sure if mentality is a factor in this experiment. All humans are the same, are they not?
If you found this journal, that means you are reading the truth behind me and the so-called fire team. Who wrote this? This is Gabriel Alphonse. I'm from Mississippi, born to a family of Confederate veterans, slave owners, and anti-abolitionists. I could go on, but let's just say they may or may not meet your standards. Now, you might be wondering why this whole Firewater Civil War started. Well, if you heard of our old professor, Francisco Poplar, he injected his DNA into Pokemon and they started to become more human-like. It's so unethical and the trainers are supporting it. I wanted those trainers to think for a second. They couldn't see that Pokemon have only one purpose, to fight each other. And then, I thought about it again. It seems unnecessary for Pokemon to be fighting each other. So why don't we just get rid of them all? The first thing we have to do is kill the professor's son, who would take his place. I mean, this region doesn't even have a form of government, and there is no one in charge and leading us as a whole, so that means there aren't any laws either. So we burn down the professor's lab. Second thing to do is kill all Pokemon, except for the fire types, because at the end, we will use them to burn down this region. That's when I adopted Billy, my Charizard. Sadly, this plan never happened, and this wasn't a common topic anymore as it was in 2014. I felt betrayed, so I decided to do it all myself. But I was also frustrated with my job at the time. I mostly worked with construction workers. We were working on rebuilding the professor's lab. And thankfully, they didn't know I was responsible for its destruction. I am too good at anonymity. Now in the winter of 2019, I found a kid all by himself in the snow. He said he got lost trying to find Pokemon. So I told him that I have a whole zoo of them in my house. And he believed me and hopped into my car. Now I remember my late parents saying that I shouldn't trust the dark skin, and seeing this boy reminded me of another purpose I had. We arrived at the house and I told him there are some in the basement. He asked, "Where's the Pokemon?" And I put my shotgun against his head and pulled the trigger. I had one more shot and fired again. Shades of red in the head and the back. I dumped the mess into a lake and spent the rest of the night cleaning the basement of the dead kid. I'll have you know, that boy wasn't the only one I killed. Found some other kids, like an English kid with an ugly scarf and its weak Squirtle. After that, I thought it wouldn't be a big deal, until I learned that kid was the professor's child. He didn't die from the lab's destruction. He was hiding. I didn't want to hunt him down immediately though, so to keep my mind off the events, I learned more about this Team Rocket group. They aren't really my type of people, as they weren't initially planning on killing the Pokemon. They thought that Francisco Poplar's new generation of Pokemon was a rare specimen, and they can only focus on them for as long as the team lived. I attended their meetings, and it was interrupted by a flood, and me and 2 other people survived, Baker and Kelly. So for now, I only had them. I didn't want to focus on the trainers anymore. I had a new plan. We could get the job done quicker if we burned the forest down. And so we did. I think they might have taken the whole no survivors policy seriously, as Baker learned that a Marowak had died, but its baby survived. And she knows her Pokemon biology very well. We chased after that Cubone, but it ran away. Now, earlier this summer, I finally spoke out. I quit my job as a construction worker and told everyone the truth. We would kill anyone who would apprehend us, and we would surrender if we lost a Pokemon battle. All Pokemon we kidnapped versus all of the trainers' Pokemon. However, the trainers took it as a Civil War declaration. We fled to an old warehouse, which contained many things that Baker and Kelly were experienced in, and to make things better, found multiple floors of prison cells. So for a while we got ready and kidnapped multiple trainers with Pokemon and forced them to make all the weapons. I'll admit, if I had cared more about my family's ancestry, I would have been winning. As of now, we got millions crammed in this place, and hundreds of them dying, unprepared or refusing. Well, that's all there is. I have a headache and I can't continue. All I can say is that every day I feel betrayed by my own friends, Kelly and Baker. Though we finally found that Cubone, the professor finally stepped into this war with almost every Pokemon we failed to capture. I think the reason why is because we have the incapability chamber where we euthanize those trainers. And their spirits are making me feel guilty. I am never guilty. I refuse to be guilty. This war is hopeless. Worst case scenario, the fire types might betray me. I can only hope that this war ends and we win. I'd rather accept death than to lose.
August 30th, 2012, 6:13 p.m., 1813. Pokemon are now getting involved with working with complete strangers. What I mean by that is that people are hiring them to help around the workplace. At least they have another purpose than fighting each other. But now that that's starting to rise, I'm worried about the impending intense labor. I'll admit this wasn't the best experiment to do, but I refuse to believe the negative aspects will happen. There is one last Pokemon I have injected with the human DNA, Mew. It said Mew contained the DNA of all Pokemon, but what would happen if it had human DNA? All this time I have been using samples from me. Instead, I've decided to use someone else, my son, Alcatraz. He accidentally cut himself, so I came by and managed to save some of his blood for the experiment. Al, Baker, I found a Mew, yelled the gunman. You won now? Asked Baker. Kelly, what were you doing? Asked Al. Oh, a prisoner escaped, and I found someone else hiding all these Pokemon, he replied. Where's the escaped prisoner? Asked Al. I killed him, and the guy who was hiding all the other Pokemon. And where are the rest of the Pokemon? Asked Baker. They fled, but I got a Mew. Baker slapped Kelly's face. You idiot! You should have gotten bigger guns on the way, she yelled. All you could capture was this? You didn't even smother it, Al responded. But guys, it's a rare find, Kelly whined. Well, Mr. Scavenger, take that thing to get dressed. And don't get any ideas, Baker shouted, pushing him out of the office. Kelly, still gripping the Mew by her tail, walked over to the closet and found a uniform for her. The uniform was an orange shirt with a red neckerchief. On the shirt sleeves were an image of a campfire with the word fire under it. All trainers in Pokemon on the fire team had this attire. There you go, Kelly said. So adorable. Any pants? When Kelly looked under the Mew's shirt, he discovered something. Oh, you're a girl. Well, how about a special initiation? Kelly's fingers started tickling the Mew in a specific part of her body that she did not have at birth. She shrieked in pain once Kelly made contact with the area. Shh, someone might hear, Kelly said, putting a hand on her mouth. Kelly had another plan for this Mew. He lowered his trousers and lifted her to rest on his lap, but before he did anything, he looked ahead in the shadowy part of the room. From the dark part of the closet, Kelly could see a small pair of red eyes staring into his soul, and above it was another pair of red eyes, but bigger. A big smile grew under the large eyes and drooled blood. From Kelly's point of view, the faces in the dark came closer, and all he could see were the mutilated corpses of the children he shot. Though their demise was not completely brutal, it was enough to make Kelly cry. Kelly dropped the Mew, making her land on her head. He pulled up his pants and bawled in terror, running out of the closet. The Mew could not see what Kelly saw, and the fall, combined with his actions, made her feel lightheaded. She did not have the strength to levitate, or at least crawl out of the building. September 5th, 2012, 10:09 a.m., 10:09. Everyone has sent me angry messages about the Pokemon's biology over the months, demanding me to investigate this more. I couldn't resist. I had to tell them all what I've been doing. Very little supported me, while most of the region's inhabitants disagreed. They demand that I should quit my job as professor. This experiment has rather an anticlimactic result. Then again, it might change over the years, but I probably won't live long enough to witness it. I hope that my family will be safe from this. My son, Alcatraz, is trying to become a professor just like me, and some are telling him to drop out or he'll be expelled. Diana, do you think we're making good progress in the war? Honestly, no, Fred. To tell you the truth, this whole thing seems unnecessary, to say the least. I know. I wish this war was easy to win. We're kinda stalemated with the fire team. Suddenly, a weasel burst through the door to get Frederick and Diana's attention. Guys, Charlie's tooth is loose, he yelled. What? Asked Diana. Eli, what happened? Asked Frederick. Charlie fought in close combat, and he got knocked out so hard that his tooth is loose. Come on, check this out. Do I dare? Groaned Diana. Well, I'll look at this. The Duat walked over to see his fellow soldiers surrounding a whimpering crocodile. A Psyduck was tying dental floss on the loosened tooth, intensifying the pain. He whined. Hold still, Charlie, the Psyduck said. Who's pulling? Asked Eli. I will, Frederick responded. The Duat grabbed the end of the floss and tied it around his paw. He pulled it with a great force, and Charlie's whole tooth came out of his gums. The nerve is still attached to the larger end of the tooth. Charlie screamed and covered his face with the pillow. Sheesh, I've never seen Charlie act like that before. What's all the commotion? Screamed a voice. General Johnson! Shouted a Marsh Tump. You there, Tyler. Explain to me what's going on. The Marsh Tump stood before the general. Sir, Pierce lost a close combat fight. He got punched in the face, loosening one of his teeth. Yuto pulled out the tooth, and Pierce is in pain. Pierce, listen to me, said the general. Do you want to be discharged? Maggot. No, Charlie whined. Then stop crying. Open your mouth. Charlie opened his mouth, revealing a bloody hole in his lower gums. You're a water type. You can wash your own mouth out, the general said with disgust. May I make a suggestion? Asked the Frogadier. Just what is your suggestion, Pierre? A medic. That way, we won't have to handle the injuries. The general sighed. Fine, but only because you are all incapable of treating yourselves. Man up, Charlie, the Marsh Tump said to the crocodile. Leave him alone, Marshal, Eli said. Come on, Charlie, follow me. Hey, I'm just trying to help. I don't want him to be discharged for being a pussy. Go to hell, Marshal, Eli shouted back, walking with Charlie. The duo were far away from Marshall's sight. Eli looked at Charlie. Dude, promise me you won't tell the medic what happened. Promise, Charlie whimpered. Also, try not to cry, okay? Okay. September 19th, 2012, 6:23 p.m., 1823. Since earlier September, things did not go well. The harassment is making me feel guilty for my will to experiment, to learn, and to discover. Thanks to all the stress, I don't think I'll live this down. I would rather just end my career as professor. But before I leave, I decided to do one last thing. Over the past month, I have managed to turn my lab sample refrigerator into a cryogenic refrigerator. I hope that the Mew does not die over time. My goal is to keep it into hypersleep, at least until my son, or hopefully someone, will revive her and keep her safe. I'll make a life statement of my experiment to the public. After that, I'm dead. The Mew woke up to an unfamiliar part of the building. She was in a dark, spacious room. In front of her is a window with very little light.
Hey, don't move.
A voice whispered.
You fainted from the guard's assault. He blubbered to the general, and for the rest of the day, he cried until he slept. It was me and my friend, Marcus. The general came downstairs and saw you on the ground. He thought you were dead and just threw you in this room.
Marcus, she thought. But that's impossible. He was dead. Unless...
They say trainers who die will reincarnate as a ghost-type Pokemon if they have a good relationship with any Pokemon. I never had any. I was looking for some late at night. I later met the general. He took me to his house and shot me. Marcus is the reason why I love Pokemon. That's how I became a Gengar. I wanted to find my stepfather, but I found out he's busy dealing with this civil war. Don't move. I wouldn't try to find the lights. This room is dark for a reason. You're in the incapability chamber. This is the chamber where the incapable soldiers come here to spend the rest of their lives. Or what was left of them. Shh, someone's coming. Stay low.
Baker walked downstairs with an Arcanine and a Growlithe and a sleepy child. Dad, do we have to do this? Asked Toby. Son, the war might come to an end. I might as well teach you the parts I wanted to save until you were older, the Arcanine replied. And since the subject is due for the incapability chamber, I might as well show you what happens if you don't listen to our beloved general. Baker forced the kid to put on a blindfold. The child responded with a question in Spanish, but Kelly interrupted him, saying, Alphonse says English only. Baker walked the blinded kid over to a chair where he sat, facing the wall. Bullet holes and blood painted the walls. 5, 4, 3, 2, Baker said before opening fire on the boy. Now, son, tonight, you will guide this incompetent trainer to the chamber, the Arcanine continued. Me? Yes, that is an order. Otherwise, you will meet the same fate. Okay, yes, sir. Baker and the Arcanine walked upstairs, leaving behind the traumatized Growlithe. He walked into the room to see the poor boy lounging to his left, with the hole from his head pouring out blood. More blood and brain matter painted the walls. The scent made Toby gag. The cadaver leaned further to the left and eventually dropped from the chair.
While he drags that innocent soul to the pile, you should grab his attention.
The ghost replied.
I know this Growlithe. He's gonna rebel. I know he will. He's scared, but he knows it's the right thing to do.
After the Growlithe dragged the body into the room, he walked to the exit. However, he saw the Mew float in front of him. You there! Oh, thank goodness you're okay, Toby whispered. I heard they found a Mew, and they immediately killed it. I'm Toby. Do you have a name? The Mew shook its head. Just as I thought. You must be Poplar's gift. Listen, I have a plan. Someday, we're going to break out of the prison. We just gotta wait for a battle. I'll keep you hidden until the day comes. Toby snuck the Mew upstairs to a cell. On the way, she could hear the ghost again.
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. You are Professor Poplar's rejected gift. You might even be my first Pokemon if it weren't for my step-grandfather. You, in a way, are gifted. Thanks to him, you have some unique powers that will develop as you get older. Speaking of which, I have a special power. I can manipulate dreams. That's how I got Toby to cooperate. Marcus doesn't think it's a good idea, but I think it is. If I hadn't given Alphonse guilty nightmares, this war would take forever to end.
Although Chase and Hunter spent only 2 days in the ghost town, they were bored. They wished they had more to eat than just snacks and wild fruits from the forest. They wanted something entertaining to do other than reading. Hunter still had the map, but he could not tell where he was. He remembered what the Arcanine said about entering society.
Hunter, I'm bored.
Chase groaned.
Hunter?
Hunter did not say anything. He sat down with a sad look, reflecting the events in his life.
What's wrong, Hunter?
Chase asked. Nothing, Hunter sighed. I just wish we had a place we could call home.
Hunter, They don't like us.
I know, Chase.
Why?
I don't know. Hunter wrapped an arm around Chase.
What happened to Mom and Dad?
He asked. It's kinda hard to explain, Hunter hesitantly responded. Mom loved me more than Dad did. Dad was sometimes rough on me, and I never knew why. But when you were born, she did not have a chance to see you.
Why not?
She died.
What about Dad?
Dad found out about you. He told me that I should destroy the egg. I didn't want to do it. You were all I had left, Chase. So I ran away with you, and we hid in a ship. That's when you hatched. I remember the first word you said, Chase.
Is that why I'm named Chase?
Kinda. I was worried Dad would be chasing after us. He tried repeating a few of my words. You managed to get Chase, so your name reminds me to keep moving forward. I still think Dad's following us, and happy of me.
Wow.
Chase and Hunter stayed in the hot sun until they heard a train horn from a distance. They walked back to the railroad, where they jumped from the first train.
The train's coming back?
Chase asked. Nah, I think it's a different one, Hunter said. Want to find another place to hang around?
Somewhere new?
Hopefully. When the crossing signals lowered their barriers, Hunter and Chase stood to the right of the rightmost flashing sign. The train was not moving very fast, and it was easy for Hunter and Chase to hitch a ride on. The train crossed the desert and kept moving straight. There were no curves for an hour. The brothers were on top of one of the cars, awaiting a tunnel or a pleasant city to signal their departure. Hunter cuddled Chase as he fell asleep. An hour had passed, and the train remained in a desert. The lands changed to that of a rural landscape. Hunter and Chase found another intersection, divided by the train tracks. There was another city, but unlike the ghost town, this one has residents. Well, Chase, here's our stop, Hunter yelled. The brothers jumped off the train. Where are we now, Hunter? Asked Chase. I don't know, Chase, he replied. The brothers walked down the street, while others who passed them looked back with annoyed looks. Hunter saw a digital sign outlining the time and date next to a gas station. July 20th, 2020. Chase, it's your birthday, he said.
What? It is?
Chase asked.
How do you know?
I remember seeing the departure date on the ship we rode. It was in kanji, but it said 20th of July, 2014. That's when you hatched from the egg. You're 6, Chase.
I am?
Yes, Chase. So, we've been here for 6 years.
Wow, that's long. Hey, what about my birthday present?
Well, what do you want?
Where's the next part of that comic?
Chase? Chase ran off, but Hunter followed. Chase peeked his head at the windows of the buildings he passed, but he could not find a series of bookshelves or anything. He did not even notice the signs restricting the fire-type Pokemon. Finally, with a gasp, Chase found what he was looking for, a comic book showing a familiar character with a number 2. The next part of his favorite story is out, and he cannot wait to read it.
There it is, Hunter.
He shouted.
I want that one.
Chase, what are you doing? Get back here!
Hunter shouted. Chase opened the door, ran into the store, and grabbed the book.
This one. I want this one, Hunter.
He shouted.
Too bad. There's only one copy.
Hunter growled.
We're not allowed here anyway. Just put it down before somebody...
What are you doing here? Asked the war turtle. After days of hiding and planning with the help of the spirits, the Mew is ready to escape the prison tower. She is partnered with an Emolga, a Rockruff, and Toby. Toby knows his way around the prison and escalates an escape plan. Okay, everyone's gone outside to fight, Toby said. What about the supervisors? Asked the Emolga. They might be outside as well, but let me make sure. Toby turned on his walkie-talkie. Baker, Kelly, are you present in the building? 10 seconds later, there was no response. Toby tried contacting them again. Are you sure you need their approval? Asked the Rockruff. Not necessarily, but I want to make sure that they're still in here, so that we can escape unnoticed, Toby said. What about your father? Asked the Emolga. Oh, yes. Dad, are you in the building? No response. Once again. Dad? We should probably go. There's very little gunfire outside now, said the Rockruff. Wait, hold on, Toby said with concern. My dad always answers me when I'm on the walkie-talkie. Why won't he talk? He's probably fighting, said the Emolga. Let's try not to bump into him or anything. Dad? Kelly? Baker? Alphonse? Anyone present? Indoors or out? Can anyone hear me? Toby worriedly contacted every supervisor in the headquarters, but no one replied. This is Toby. Are you guys outside? The building suddenly shook and brought the remaining Pokemon down to their knees, except for the Mew. There were cracks formed on the ceilings and walls, and water leaked everywhere. From the outside, everyone was screaming beneath the groaning building. Toby looked at an open door. "Run!" he shouted. "Follow me to the restrooms!" The prisoners ran to hide in the bathrooms with Toby, right when water rushed from the ceilings. Furniture and other equipment from the upper floors fell to the factory room. Toby slammed the door shut as the noises from outside continued. From the other side of the room, it sounded as if a torpedo had sunk a ship. The bathroom light turned on, and the warning klaxon blared from outside. "Everybody okay?" asked the Rockruff. "Kinda," the Emolga said. "Toby?" Toby was crying, staring at the floor. "This is my fault," he whimpered. "I shouldn't have done this. I wanted you guys to be free." "It's okay, Toby," the Emolga said. "The building coming down is more than enough to prove that the war is over." "Yeah, the fire team lost," the Rockruff shouted with joy. "Everyone can go home." "But my dad," Toby cried. "I don't have anyone else. We're stuck here." "The soldiers will help clean up. They'll find us," the Emolga said, patting Toby's head. "You'll find a new home once we're out. Things will be different now." The Mew laid in a fetal position, worrying about the enclosed space. Already water was exuding from the bottom of the door, but she could hear the ghost's voice again.
Don't be afraid.
It said,
It'll be over soon. The fires are extinguished in the upper floors. The helicopter is on the way. You'll be going home soon.
There was a big explosion heard from above. The building shook, and the light flickered. A feminine voice spoke over the intercom from outside. "Warning! A fire has been detected in the building. Please evacuate the vicinity as soon as possible." "What is happening?" Toby cried. "Is the grass team not satisfied?" "Calm down, Toby," said the Rockruff.
No way. Unicorns? From a boy? Jack, give me the picture. Looks like Casper likes to draw godly things. Please don't tell the teacher. Too bad. I am. Jack, wait. I'll do anything. Oh, please. What can you do? I can curse people. What? Yeah, I can. You're kidding. No, I'm not. I seriously can. Well, in that case, why don't you curse some people that I'm tired of dealing with? Who? Start with that Evie.
Can anyone keep track of time? Asked the Emolga. It had to be a couple hours, the Rockruff sighed. Maybe less, Toby mumbled. I'm losing hope. Don't lose hope, Toby, the Emolga said. It's gonna take the construction workers a while to take us out. The klaxon had stopped blaring, and the voice on the intercom changed into music. The tune was a slow droning of instruments. In a way, it was like a digital orchestra made from various gadgets. Though the music was faint, it kept the prisoners and Toby calm.
I like this song.
The ghost said to the Mew.
It helps me relax. Aren't you relaxed?
The Mew did not answer.
Why don't you talk? Do you know how? I don't know if you're mute. Well, if you're not, you should try speaking to them. Help them calm down.
Guys?
She finally said. Did you talk? Toby asked.
Yes.
The Mew continued.
I'm sorry I didn't speak up before.
Oh, it's fine.
Shouldn't we try to find another way out of here?
Well, you're a Mew, the Emolga said. Can you try using your teleportation power?
I don't know how to do that.
The Mew said. Oh, she's Poplar's last test subject, Toby said. The professor before Alcatraz Poplar injected his DNA into everyone else's. But you'll have Alcatraz's genes in you. You might be different from the rest of us. Whoa, you'll have our professor's genes? Asked the Rockruff. What else happened to you?
I don't remember.
She answered.
I was asleep in some kind of box. I don't think I woke up before that day. I don't even know my own name.
Pinky, said Toby.
What?
The Mew asked. Francisco named you Pinky, unless you want a new name.
Pinky. That sounds okay.
Her name is Pinky, and she received this name from a strange man. He had a hard time trying to achieve his goal of becoming the Regent's professor. When that finally happened, he decided to run experiments on the Pokemon. Pinky was the last, and there were more sadistic experiments to come. But the professor quit his job and ended his life, asking for his son to replace him. and continue the experiments. He kept Pinky frozen and gifted him to a son, who denied it. The new professor refused to run the experiments and decided to finish what he started.
So, how did you become a wrestler?
Asked Chase.
It's kind of a long story, but I'll try my best to explain it.
Thunder said.
So, you know that Rye took down the remains of the fire team, right?
Right.
Well, I left while that was still happening. When I went to Mexico, I was expecting our hometown to be mourning, or at least commemorate the loss of a little girl. They did, but for a short time. It's like they didn't care about what happened to her.
What happened to her?
I don't know, but I think it was all thanks to Alphonse. Now, I didn't know much about Esperanza, and I thought it was pointless to live in Mexico again. Before I left, I found a Persian bullying a Plusle and a Minun. I threw dirt at the cat's face and scared it away. I wasn't a fighter yet, but back to the point. I stayed in Mexico because the little Plusle and Minun didn't have a family. Somebody had to take care of those orphan twins. They only knew their names, Pablo and Miguel. All I can say is, they're a handful. Now, during the first few days of raising them, I saw some kids wearing these masks and capes, tackling each other. Instead of intervening, I watched. I said, wow, I want to try that someday. And then, I smuggled a book about wrestling. Then, I learned about this luchador league, and I joined it. But like I said, everyone laughed at this little pitcher named Selena. But when I evolved, everyone kept their mouths shut.
How did you evolve?
Chase asked.
It's that a pitcher's happiness can cause it to evolve.
Thunder replied.
I was so happy that I got to be a part of this luchador thing. Even the twins were proud of me. If anything, I blame the bullies. I beat everyone in the league, and I was proud of myself. I don't always feel so accomplished, but shocking everyone, figuratively and literally, gave me so much euphoria. After evolving, I learned how to do something that I don't think any Pikachu can.
What's that?
I can change size.
Whoa.
Yeah. Some say it's Dynamax, but I don't think it is. Dynamax is more of a combative thing. Maybe it's that weird professor. I don't really know. The teachers of the league weren't proud of me a year later.
Why not?
They thought I was winning unfairly. I wasn't the only Pokemon there, and they thought I was cheating because I can change size. They said, Lopez, you're history. I ran away, upset that I wasn't welcome back. Pablo and Miguel saw me in grief and tried to cheer me up. They found a piece of Thunderstone. They said, if you're done wrestling, maybe you can move on. Has it right you? I told them to bury it. No one can find it. For a few months, I was homesick. I missed Rai. I missed Esperanza, and it was hard to move on from everything I witnessed during the war. Then I heard about another wrestling league, only this one wasn't more like some activity for kids. This one is heavily targeted to adults. I was turning 17, I think, and they allowed it. And little did I know, the world would know my name. A couple of months into my popularity, Rai found me. I didn't hear from him for a long time.
Was he mad?
No, just worried. He told me that he took down the Mafia. I was happy for him, but I didn't want to leave yet. I felt that I was home. Rai respected my decision, but before he left, I gave him the Thunderstone. I remember that he always wanted to evolve, so I made his dream come true.
By now, it is nightfall, and the water reaching the room was only a quarter full. The drain did not empty much of the flood. Toby and the Rockruff were getting weak. The Emolga tried his best to keep the light bulb lit. Pinky was tired of floating, and she wished the voices could come back. Guys, I don't feel so good, the Rockruff groaned. Me neither, Toby replied. We'll be out soon. I'm so cold. The heat of the light bulb was not enough to warm up the shivering Rockruff. The Growlithe was too weak to do anything at this point. Pinky suddenly heard wet scraping from above. The water level slowly went down.
Guys, can you hear that?
She asked. I can't hear anything but my pulse, Toby groaned. From above, construction workers and Pokemon were working together to clean up the mess. Tractors, excavators, and cranes surrounded the remains of the fire team's prison camp. Stadium lights illuminated the area. Agridim was quickly getting tired of draining the water below the remaining levels. An Excadrill walked over to him. Hey you, he said. Let me take over. The Agridim sighed and sat down, sweating from the hard work. Are you sure you can manage? He asked the Excadrill. It's just a little water. What could it hurt? You? The two laughed while the Excadrill started scooping the water with a bucket. Pinky got closer to the door and knocked.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
She screamed.
Hello?
The Excadrill kept ladling the water until he heard a faint, high-pitched voice from underwater. along with knocking. "Whoa, I heard something," he said. Pinky shouted. Pinky and the Emolga shouted while Toby and the Rockroof groaned. They both knocked harder on the door. "Whoa! Someone's still alive down there!" "Wait, what?" The Greedan walked over to listen. He could hear the heavy pounding from underwater. "Get the doctors, man!" the Excadrill said, getting out of the small ditch. Pinky continued to knock until she heard cracks forming in the ceiling of the bathroom. Toby and the Rockroof looked up at the splintering. Finally, the Excadrill peeked his head from the hole. "Good evening, fellas," he shouted. "Help is on the way. Stay calm."
"Toby, we're getting out!"
Pinky shouted.
"Toby!"
"I heard," he groaned. "Hooray," the Rockroof weakly said. Within seconds, the news of 4 survivors found underneath the wreckage spread across the region. The grass team medics returned to their victorious battlefield. Extra sets of lights illuminated the hole the Excadrill dug. The trapped Pokemon got a better light source. Pinky? Can't you fly us out?" asked the Emolga.
"I would, but I'm tired of it now,"
She sighed.
"Besides, I don't want to leave you guys."
"That's nice," Toby said. "Oi!" shouted a high-pitched voice.
"Hello?"
Pinky shouted. "Yeah, we're coming to get you." From the other side, Wartortle dropped a rope down to pick up the survivors. "Tie yourselves, and we'll take you up," the Wartortle said. "Don't worry, it's steady." "Are you sure you can pull us all up? You're the only one pulling." "No, I'm not. I got an extra set of hands, claws, paws, and hooves." The team of Good Samaritans yanked on the rope to pull out the Mew, Emolga, Rockroof, and Growlithe, all tied together. At last, everyone was free from the water and the haunting ambience from inside. Toby slowly laughed, seeing the night sky. He had one tear coming from his left eye. Toby looked around, seeing people surrounding the doctors, and a large construction site where the building was. Pinky unwrapped herself, covered in dust and water, with her blood drying up against her arms. The Emolga unwrapped himself too, finding the tears on his wings. "Young lad, can you hear me? What is your name?" the Wartortle asked. "Toby Kelvin," the Growlithe groaned. "I'm from the fire team." "I'm Juno Bartholomew Jr. I'm from the water team," the Wartortle continued. "I'm not leaving you to die, just like your leader did to everyone else. That Miltank over there is Henrietta Annabelle. She's from the grass team. We're going to take you to the Pokemon Center." "Hey," Toby slowly said. "What happened to the prisoners?" "They're free at last, hun," the Miltank said. The Wartortle and Miltank took Toby, the Emolga, the Rockroof, and Pinky over to the Pokemon Center that night. The Rockroof barely responded to any of the questions asked. Toby tried not to fall asleep, weak from the water. The Emolga tried not to damage his wing any further. And Pinky was severely exhausted, trying to ease her claustrophobia. Chase ran deep into the woods and kept going. He fell face down, but did not get up. Chase cried into the pile of leaves. Hunter is gone forever. Chase's paranoia and depression left him frozen, staring into space on the ground. Chase could see the adventures he had with Hunter. He looked up at the cloudy skies, and he was sure that it was going to rain. The pudgy Charmander hoped that it would be a cloudburst, so that the poor child could see his brother again. Chase stayed on the ground, trying to fall asleep, so that he wouldn't feel the pain. Hours had passed, and nothing hurt Chase. No signs of water on his face, other than his tears. He turned to some weird fruits in nearby bushes and ate one. He ate more, and nothing much happened. Although something hurt his stomach, it wasn't killing him. No paralysis, just gas pain. Chase collapsed again, still depressed about his brother's death. He looked up at the sky. The skies were still gray, but it opened up some rays of sunlight on Chase. He looked up at the light and smiled. He could hear Hunter's voice echoing in his mind. Chase then remembered why he has that name. If Hunter gave him that name to help each other move forward, then Chase would continue doing that. He wandered to the deeper parts of the forest, despite the pain in his gut. Thanks to Nurse Annabelle, Pinky, Toby, and the Emolga were able to recover. Unfortunately, the Rockroof succumbed to the injuries, and being a rock type, exposure to water weakened his immune system. All of the Pokemon did not have any trainers. Either they had been killed in the war, or were born wild, like Pinky, the Emolga, and Rockroof. Toby's father died in the hands of the grass team. He was unsure whether to be happy that his abusive father is gone, or sad that he is the only surviving member of his family. So, Y'all free to go, said Annabelle. Do any of y'all have trainers? All of them shook their heads. Well, if you want, I know a place where some new fellas can take you to a new home. Oh boy, yelled the Emolga with glee. There's a bus waiting for y'all outside. Toby and the Emolga walked onto the bus, but the Emolga looked back at Pinky. She was not getting closer to the bus. Pinky, aren't you coming?
I don't know if anyone would want to meal, or be meal,
She said. Come on in. The Emolga pulled Pinky into the bus as it drove off.
Are you sure?
Yes. During the bus ride, Toby cried. Toby? What's wrong? Asked the Emolga. My dad, he whimpered.
Are you that worried about your father?
Pinky asked. No. Yes. I don't know. Toby sobbed. He was all I had left. But he was so mean to you guys. And he was mean to me. But, Toby, the Emolga said, wiping the tears from the growless eyes. We're free now. And that's all that matters, right? Yeah. I just wish my dad would agree with me. Listen, there are some people we can't reconcile with. Sometimes we gotta do the right thing, even if it's wrong in their perspective. Toby hugged the Emolga, and Pinky joined in. The bus finally stopped at an orphanage. The orphanage opened during the war for lost fire-type Pokemon, but they released them to avoid threats from the fire team. Instead, they kept the building open for children whose families left to go to war. At the end of the Firewater Civil War, the orphanage allowed the surviving fire team prisoners of war, the fire team POWs, to stay until they could find a new family. They also kept the kidnapped Pokemon inside due to the fire team's rebirth. For almost a week, the trio had not met any new trainers. A teenage boy named Joshua Kristoff adopted the boy. Toby met the war turtle, who saved his life again. Becoming friends with the medic of his enemy was enough to prove that there is hope for his kind after the dreadful war. The Emolga and Pinky were yet to be adopted. However, one night, while the Emolga slept, Pinky stayed up to practice something. She floated in a fetal position and strained. She eventually disappeared from the orphanage and reappeared in another area. It worked, she thought. Now, where was she? Pinky was alone again, in a dark alleyway. Two men walked by and saw her. There it is, one man yelled. This is what Kelly was talking about, I guess, the other one said. Maybe. Let's take this thing back to our good home, Grain Shed. Yeah, you hear that? We got a new camp for your kind. One of the men grabbed Pinky by the tail and slammed her around 10 times. She screamed for help until they pinned her against the wall, muffling her. Scream all you want, the man said, pulling out a knife. Before the man did anything, he could see Gabe Alphonse choking in his room. His eyes wandered up, and he saw Baker accidentally shooting herself. The man dropped Pinky, and then saw the mutilated corpses of everyone in the incapability chamber. His friend walked up to ask what was wrong with him. He looked into his glowing eyes and saw the same vision. He ran away, as his ally followed. Stop following me, you... the man shouted as his voice faded away. Pinky was unsure of what happened as she lost sight of the two men. It was too dark to tell, but she was sure that one of the men collapsed in another alleyway. The other man also collapsed minutes later. Can you hear me? Asked a voice. It's me, the kid who captured you, Marcus Dustin. I'm in your shadow. Pinky looked at her shadow and saw a Marshadow creep out. Hey there, he shyly said. I was almost right about the celebration.
Marcus?
Pinky groaned.
What do I do?
Oh, I saw some Pokemon coming out here. Call for help. They'll get your attention. Pinky cried for help and waited, still feeling the injuries from before. She saw a Pikachu peek his head out from the other side of the alleyway. Do you need help? He asked.
Yes.
Pinky stuttered. The Pikachu walked closer. What happened? Pinky told the Pikachu more than enough information he was finding. The Pikachu was on a mission to stop the anti-Pokemon Mafia, a group Alphonse formed before the Firewater Civil War began. They returned just after the end of the Firewater Civil War. Although Pikachu did not do much but ask questions, Pinky repaid his concern by joining him and the rest of the starter Pokemon across their native regions to fight back. Pinky had some more powers to discover. For the next few years of her life, she learns more about them and practices them. Francisco Poplar may have been an insane man, but to Pinky, these new powers were a gift that changed her life.